Welcome to Love of the Game. You're with your boy SJ here. We're having our Rugby League segment, episode 1. I'd like to thank our major sponsor, Moxie Building. And first things first, we have Ahmed, a massive NRL fan. Played rugby league all his life, die-hard Bulldogs fan. Ahmed, what got you into the game?
Thanks for having me, Sales. Man, where do I start, eh? The love of the game has probably developed from a very young age, eh? My family are all diehard Bulldog fans. As you can see, I'm wearing my colours, with pride, even though we are at the bottom of the table or thereabouts.
I was,
But
I was gonna say,
yeah, love of the game probably developed probably age of 6 when my mum did enroll me in footy, and ever since then, it's just continued to grow.
going back onto that, what is your favorite Bulldogs moment?
Favorite Bulldogs moment? Can't look past 2004 Bulldogs, eh? Epic team, you know. It's probably about, what can I say, bro? About 10 years old then, you know. It's just like
Yeah, that's
literally when your love was growing. The Bulldogs were always, like a force back then. And yeah, bro, ever since then, it's just been blue and white till the end.
yeah, that gets me back to when I was at that age. I remember the 2004 season. It was a gun star-studded team. All my mates were Bulldogs fans. I didn't have a team at that moment. I was sort of leaning towards Bulldogs, but then I saw the Tigers, the orange and black, so I went with the colours. And then the Tigers actually won it the next year. So I thought the Bulldogs-Tigers rivalry was going to be good with the boys, like with all my mates and things like that. But it hasn't turned out like that for either side, I guess.
So in other words, you were a sellout.
It wasn't a seller. I still didn't choose a team. I didn't have a team, And then Benji Marshall made me fall in love with the game. I remember, honestly, my dad could never take me to the game, so I'd actually walk to the park just to do the Benji highlights, the side step and all those little things that he used to do, because that team was just all flair, and kind of that's what made me fall in love with rugby league.
Yeah, and
Um,
for people that don't know you, they'll know that your game's all about flair. There's a couple of
yeah,
highlights that we do have on YouTube. If you guys wanted to look, 2014 Ducks Grand Final, you'll see a couple of highlights of Sales here. The
I
guy's a
always,
freak.
I always did say, man, come right. I'll play fullback. Ahmed was a second row lock, and man, running off him off the offloads was the best thing in the world, man. You knew the offload was coming, SBW like, and I guess who's your favorite player of all time?
Yeah, you can't look past SPWA. At a younger
Yeah.
age, that's literally all I did, eh? Tried to develop that offload, bust the tackles, and you know me, bro, I'm a bit of a hothead. Tried to pull off massive hits. It was just Sonny Bill. But, along those lines as well, I did love Steve Maddai as well, man. That guy
Yeah,
used to just go after the big boys, like
the
the
hitman, the
props.
hitman.
He was a center, just going after people double his weight. I love that, man. That's rugby league to me,
Mm.
What it is now, it's a bit softer, but still, you can't ever lose that passion.
Hey, that gets me back to the next question, yeah? That SBW move when he left the Bulldogs. How did that hit you? Because from an outsider, it was tough. It was tough.
Hey, I remember we were young, we were probably in our teens back then, and legit, my mates and I, all of us just wanted to like kill him, like literally, like
Yeah.
bro, how can you leave us? And we were probably, you know, at our most dire stages then. I remember he left in like 2008. We got the wooden spoon, you
Mm.
know. But then 2009, Peter Moore came along, and then we got all those Broncos boys, and then we started, coming back. It was pretty good. But yeah, man, he left us at probably our lowest point, and ever since then, the club's it recovered somewhat. But look at us, we just never recovered fully, eh?
Yeah, look, before we continue, as we've told you earlier, we're going to do the NRL round 24 recap. But before that, we're just going to elaborate both a bit on the Bulldogs and the Tigers. We're both, I guess, diehard fans. Both have just had a miserable run of it the last sort of decade. So how's your team looking? How do you feel like the next 5 years are looking for the Bulldogs?
Honestly, optimistic, eh? You can't get past the big old Gussie there.
Yeah,
When Gus is at the helm, you have a lot of trust. But to be honest with you, on that same note, this year it is a major setback, and you start to create a bit of doubts as well for his vision. We're probably the worst defense. We are the worst defense in the NRL. We leak so much points, but at the same time, injuries are a major factor. We haven't had a front row. We're very weak in the middle.
Yeah.
So there is a bit of excuses, but at the same time, we we were fairly optimistic this year of at least competing for the top 8. So where we are now, I feel like it's a failure of a season, eh?
Yeah,
What
and to
about
be
you,
honest,
Tigers?
we'll just continue with the Bulldogs for a bit longer before we go back to my misery. But yeah, the Bulldogs kicker has been out all year. You do have a lot of injuries, especially in the forwards. Um, what about next year? You got Blake Taff coming. You got Tokiaho. You got Stephen Crichton.
Jamin
Toby
Salmon.
Sexton. You got a halfback there too now that can sort of lead the team, let Burton sort of roam around. How you guys? What are you feeling about next year? Is Cameron Serraldo going to get the best out of you guys? Because on paper, it is a strong team.
Yeah, I agree. It is a strong team on paper, but I still feel that we are pretty thin in the front row, eh? So we lose Thompson. Um, we get Tokiaho. Yeah, Tokiaho's a gun, but don't forget he's
Yeah, he's a bit
33
old.
years old now as
Yeah,
well.
he's a bit old.
You know, we did recruit Liam Knight midway through this season, and I really do like him, but he does have a history of concussion as well. So if he does get concussed, he could miss half a season. Tokiaho, he's had a history of his knees as well. So we do need to recruit, I reckon, a couple more big boppers. They don't have to be like Payne Haas superstars.
Mm,
Just probably a couple of mid tier, players. Like the likes of Matt Lodge. Like something like that. I wouldn't be, too angry about. But yeah, if we can fix our front row stocks, then man, I believe our backs will compete with anyone. Eh? Our
yeah,
back, our back
yeah,
five
back line.
next year is gonna be pretty
Who would
insane.
you play
Eh?
at fullback? Who would you play at fullback?
At the moment, I know that Crichton was signed to play fullback, but I do feel like our
Taff.
recent signature of Blake Taff
Yeah,
is gonna slot straight in at fullback, put Crichton there at the centres because we do leak a lot of points there, and probably strengthen us up there. And yeah, man, I feel like that back five is gonna be insane. Probably have
yeah.
number one Taff, number two probably Carraz, number three Crichton, number four Bronson Cherry, and number five Addo Carr. Wow, that's
Are you
nice.
happy with Sexton at halfback?
Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah,
know what he does? It's more of like that no frills halfback play. You
it's
get me?
game manager.
It's
Just game
just the
manage.
game
Yeah,
manager. He sticks to the
agree.
game plan, kicks you to the corners, makes sure you complete your sets, gets the forwards in the right position, and just lets Burton play off that. That's what Burton's needed all year long, and you can see it. The past 3 games they've been together, he's played 80 minutes in those three. Well, the 3 games he has played 80 minutes in, we've won. The one game he got concussed. Well, in
Yeah,
the
no,
game,
I definitely
18
agree on
all,
that.
and then, but yeah, nah, very good signature.
Yeah. Look, with the Tigers, honestly, it's a shit show over there. Um, we do have Benji coaching. Well, I feel like Benji is already the coach of that team, and Tim Sheens is just sort of taking care of the media stuff. Um, but look, it is kind of promising. Like they do have a few players there that they can sort of build off. We've got a good leader in Appy at the moment. Um, Bulla, who's pretty solid. Hopefully Papali, who's been disappointing. Clemmer. To be honest, as a Tigers fan, and I know that I speak on behalf of every single Tigers fan out there. The whole Luke Brooks sort of saga, putting that behind us and just starting fresh, I guess, is kind of music to our ears at the moment. Not just for Tigers fan, but also for Luke Brooks. He has been a bit of a punching bag.
Yeah, he
So
needs
I
a
do
breath of
feel,
fresh air, eh?
yeah,
Yes.
and I do feel like he'll actually do well at Manly too. And everyone hates Manly, so just another reason to hate Manly for what's up if Luke Brooks does well. But yeah, honestly, I think 10 plus years of him being at halfback and not even having a semi final or a playoff game, making the top 8 is just, it's unacceptable. But yeah, as I said, look, Benji is the one that got me through the dark days with his flick pass in '05. I've been okay probably since about 2 years, 3 years ago. And then since then, I kind of hated the sport. Just watching the Tigers get smashed every week. The low light for me was that Melbourne Storm game. I think we were down 2, 3 years ago. I think we were down 50, like 48-0 at halftime.
Yeah, it was a Nico Hunt masterclass. I remember it.
Yeah, since then, man, I swear I've just been off the Tigers. But slowly this year, Bulla, Appy have sort of made me fall in love with the Tigers again. Just watching them play and the hope, hope can kill a man, but it also is the reason why you follow sports. You chase that dream that hopefully one day we can have a repeat of '05 and hopefully '04. Hopefully one day we can meet in the grand final.
Agreed, agreed. I'd say, you guys are a lot more miserable. 10 plus years of no finals. We've made a couple of grand finals. My
Yeah,
boys do all right, but it's just the past 5 years. It's been, a bit of a lean string. I haven't seen much finals. Haven't been very successful. But like you said, bro, we're diehard fans. We
That's it.
stick through. Good times, bad times, doesn't really matter. But all we want is just our players and our team. The board members, just to be on that same page and show
Yeah,
a bit of heart on the field.
that's it. As I
That's
said,
it.
honestly, I'm not even expecting a top 8 every year, but compete, being
That's
around there,
it.
one every decade, just have a good semi-final, grand final
Hey,
run. That's all we ask for, man. That's all we ask for.
but honestly, where you are now, do you miss the days of the Tigers finishing ninth?
Yeah, honestly, I do. Because that's the thing. For me, it's honestly just meaningful games. Having some meaningful games where the games count. And to be honest, those 2 years where we finished ninth, we literally playing the last game of the round and we needed to win to make it, and we got pumped both times at half time.
Always, eh? And you
But to
knew it
be
was
honest, that
coming.
build up to that week was it. That's what you need. That's what, as sports fan, that's what you live for. And hopefully we can get that back for both the fan bases. Now we're just gonna do our round 24 recap. First game, we have the Manly Sea Eagles versus the Penrith Panthers.
Hey, this could get ugly, eh? Manly Seagulls on a bit of a form slump, have so many injuries stacking up. They've lost Matt Lodge again for the season now, so that's another forward they've lost. Adding to Paseka, a couple of other boys that are missing there in the front row as well. I think Josh Aloye, Kepi now is a starting front rower. He's probably played bench all his life, so he's going to get a lot more minutes. And against the Penrith pack, who bully you right through the middle, it could get a bit ugly. But yeah, Ben Trebojevic moves to the edge. He's been pretty solid, but he does have a bit of hamstring issues as well. And the Talagi and Bullimore to the bench, eh? That Bullimore, I love his leg speed.
Yeah.
So, if the game does open up, he's a pretty good prop, has some good footwork, can, run a couple of nice lines. But who are we kidding? It is Penrith, eh?
Yeah.
For Penrith as well, it's just one major out. It's Isaac Targo, who has been out for 3 weeks. But Hosking, just retains that centre spot, who did do a pretty solid job last week, and I did not expect that, eh?
Yeah, I was going to say, Hosking gave Brian Toll some good ball, man. 2 tries there. Also, I did want to say, Manly, to be honest with you, I feel they're going to be deflated after last week. Manly do have Bulldogs and Tigers the last 2 rounds, so I do feel like if they won the last game, they just needed to win one out of Panthers and Warriors coming up next week. But with that loss, I do feel like they need to win both these games.
That's right.
So, yeah, I do feel like a blowout might be coming also in this game.
Yeah. I agree. So, yeah, definitely Panthers by probably 30, eh? But Brookie is usually a fortress, but looking at Panthers, the way they're going, the problem is you get deflated when you can't score points. And with a defense like that, that's probably, averaging, 10 points a game against them throughout the entire season. That's deflating in itself. You're coming in knowing that you're not going to score a point, eh?
Yeah, I did say, hey, Melbourne Storm looked flat last week, man, against them. Only scored 6 points, and you saw Cameron Munster do some things you don't see Cameron Munster normally do. So, yeah, I guess that's why Penrith are going for that 3-peat, man. They're the best team in the league by far.
100%.
Our next game, which will be a good game, the Sharks versus the Gold Coast Titans. Who do you have and why?
I'd have to go Sharks, eh? After last week, they came up with their backs against the wall and just showed a whole lot of courage, that grit, aggression. They went all in on that South team, which was a major letdown, for all of us. But this week, they do get Ronaldo back on the wing, which is a major addition for them. But they do lose a big bopper in that Josh Hazleton, in the front row. But to be honest with you, they have pretty good depth in their front row, so it is pretty solid. But at the same time, Titans, they lose Mo Fodawaker's suspension, but now they've got Tino coming back straight in. So yeah, man, they look pretty good as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Sharks game last week, man. I don't know if the Sharks looked good or the Rabbitohs were just flat, but something was wrong with the Rabbitohs there. That Sione Katoa step that he done on Latrell Mitchell was dirty. But what I feel, that shouldn't have even been there. Cody Walker did not need to dive like that. And then also, yeah, that was so preventable. But yeah, as I said, it's just the energy. Rabbitohs came out flat and they got what they deserved, down 26-0. I do feel like the Sharks will beat the Titans. Last week was probably a season-defining game for them, which
I agree.
What do you have? Sharks 1-12 or 13+ there?
I say Sharks at Shark Park Friday night. They'll have a full house in there. They're pretty much full strength now, especially in that back line. So yeah, I'd say Sharks 13 plus.
Yeah, agreed.
Especially Sammy Verrills is also gone. He's been a bit of a rock there in the middle. He's very good service. He's a proven, hooker now. He's won a grand final of the Roosters in the past. So it is also a major loss for Titans. So yeah, definitely 13 plus
Yeah.
Sharks. No.
Tino back would definitely help the Titans there, but yeah, I just feel like the Sharks might have too much there. How long is Will
Yeah.
Kennedy out for?
Well, Kennedy, they're saying he's due back first week of finals if they do
First week
make
finals.
finals. But they're saying that he might not even play that first week of finals because
Hey, to
the
be honest,
hamstring.
Connor Tracy is a good replacement. Connor Tracy can get the job done also. So I don't
Yeah,
feel like they lose too much. They definitely lose a bit there, but it's not too much. So
that's right.
they should get
I
by.
agree. I agree.
And the next game, Brisbane Broncos versus the Parramatta Eels. Who do you have?
Hey, I've got an upset coming up here.
You
The
reckon?
Broncos been on a good run, but the Eels are gonna be, really up for this one. And in the past, you've seen the Eels have smacked Broncos in final series. They've had their number,
Yeah, they got the wood
and
on
the
them.
Eels are just, scraping into that top eight. Dylan Brown had his first game back last week, got all the rust out. So I feel like this week they're gonna come out and they're just gonna ambush them, eh?
I'm just looking. I just feel like the Parramatta forward pack missing Campbell Gillard, Sean Lane just might not have enough there to stop. Because hey, Brisbane's all about their forward pack, and then Adam Reynolds game managing.
Yeah,
Adam Reynolds is returning. Reece Walsh, I think Reece Walsh and Ezra Mann need Adam Reynolds more than Adam Reynolds needs them to.
I agree.
Um, Man, Broncos, I just feel like this is their year. They're going to compete with Panthers for that title, and these are the games that they should win, especially at Suncorp Friday night. I honestly feel like they might win this comfortably. To be honest, Para didn't look too good against the Dragons last week either.
Mm.
Um,
But
and yeah,
honestly, that came down to a Michaela Ravawala masterclass. And that
yeah,
young 18-year-old kid that did debut, he's been dropped, replaced by Simonson on the wing now. So Brad Arthur obviously did see the problem that occurred last weekend. He's
was
put that.
Simonson dropped last week?
No, Simonson was playing centre. So what he's done is moved Simonson to the wing, put Dejan Arce into the centres, who was Dylan Brown's replacement at 5'8", and he was killing
Yeah,
it. He's a very good ball runner, very damaging as well. So I feel like, that pretty much strengthens their team for what they
yeah,
did have a weakness in last week. And in terms of forwards as well, bro, they signed Joe Offahengawi. They have Ryan Madison on the bench. If
yeah.
anyone has forward depth, it's the Eels, eh? The Eels are very strong up front, man. So
So
yeah,
you
I
tipping
don't think they
Parramatta?
lose much. Yeah, Para all day.
Tipping
Even
Parramatta?
though I hate them, they're probably my second most hated team. But Para's coming for an ambush.
Nah, that's a big call, but respect it. Yeah, I'm going Broncos. I just feel like the return of Adam Reynolds is just too much, and I think Kevin Walter knows, man, they're a serious team this year, so he'll get the boys switched on for that game.
Mhm.
Our next game starting Super Saturday is the South Sydney Rabbitohs versus the Dragons. Who do you have? Rabbitohs by how much?
3 o'clock game, Saturday Arvo, and Rabbitohs. All they love to do is attack. They
Yeah,
don't love to do that dirty, defensive work. They love that flair and attack. So yeah, man, I'm saying Rabbitohs probably like 50-6 in that game. I'm expecting a
50
big
to 6.
scoreline, bro. They've lost 9 of their past 11 games or something. Like I read a
Mm,
stat about that the other day. That's insane. They were top four, camped in there. Now they're literally out of the top eight. So they've got to come out
yeah.
and like fire up. If they don't fire up against the Saints, they'll never do it.
Man, I was just looking at their lineup. I do see Tane Milne back on the wing, which, to be honest, suits their team more. They do need that sort of
Yeah,
defensive sort of comfortability to know that they actually have someone there that can defend. As I said, the other winger last week, he had a pretty much. I'll say he had a
that a
shocker.
shocker,
He had a
shocker.
shocker. I'm
That
sorry,
Munro,
Monroe.
especially when he got that break at the end. No one
Mm.
was around him, and the ball bubbled out. Like he done
That's when you
about
know you're
three,
having a
four of
bad
those.
day. That's when you know
Yeah,
you're having a
yeah.
bad day.
He's a young kid though. It's expected. It does happen. But like you said, Milne back on the wing, experience. He's played a couple of big final series. He
Mm.
does suit that team a lot more, like you said. And AJ on the other side, he's the speed and flair that they need. So
That's it.
it's
Yeah.
it's a good combo. I
And to be
like it.
honest, Latrell needs to go back on the left and right side. I think last game he was just hanging out on the right side a bit too much.
Yeah.
Their left side's their strong point. They got to go back. I want to ask you about Tallis Duncan. What do you think of that young man, man? I see so much talent, and man, off the kickoffs, I think it's like 2 weeks in a row where he just throws a dummy and he goes straight through. Yeah, do you want to talk about him a bit?
Yeah, agreed. I really, really rate that Tallis Duncan, eh? I believe that if Souths don't offer him, upgrade on the contract, some team will snap him up real
Tigers.
quick, eh? Real quick. But the way he plays, he's got more of like that Cameron Murray,
Yeah.
yeah, like that build, that frame. He's got a quick play the ball. He can tackle for days, doesn't miss a tackle,
Mm,
and he gives 100% every run. And that's what
yeah,
you want
agree.
in a footy team. So you can build around him. He is that modern day lock you can call. Now he has that ball
Yeah.
skill, that dummy in him. Quick play the ball. So yeah, he's gonna be a name to remember for years
I
to come.
honestly do feel like he's going to be an Australian representative playing in Origin
Agreed.
for a number of years, for a decade. I would honestly, if I was a Tigers management and they said we signed him for like 650, 700, I'd honestly put my hand up and say, you know what, that's money well spent.
Yeah.
Especially the way we spend money. So, yeah.
But what about your thoughts on Lomax and Bird being out? It can be a pretty rough day out in the centres for Dragons, eh?
Look, I do feel,
Lomax
honestly,
has been their
Dragons.
gun for the past 5 weeks as well. He's found his form. Losing him, where do they get their points? I don't see them scoring, eh?
Look, I do feel, look, if Dragons don't, at halftime, if they're down like 20 to 18 to 20 points, I do feel like the second half's going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
But they just got to hang in there. As I said, Souths looked really, really bad last week. Even against the Tigers, they didn't look too flash. It could be one of those things where, Dragons, the Rabbitohs go into the game and think they've already won the game. And then you know how that goes.
Yeah.
And
Like last week against Sharks, but come on, 2 weeks in a row? Surely not.
I do feel, yeah, Rabbitohs. But look, Dragons, I do feel they need to pull something. If Ben Hunt, if he keeps being in teams that keep getting smashed, I do feel like he's going to leave Gold Coast Titans.
Agreed.
That's his home. Our next game, the 5:30 game, the West Tigers versus the New Zealand Warriors. Who do you have and why?
This one could also get ugly, eh? It's got to be the Warriors. Tigers have done that mistake that all clubs do for some odd reason, taking their home game away to the opposing team's home ground. So Tigers have taken their home game to New Zealand, and they're up against the New Zealand Warriors, who tend to kill it in New Zealand.
In the Tigers' defense, is probably our first home game that we've sold out in a while too. So good marketing.
We'll take that.
Yeah, look, I do feel the New Zealand Warriors are going to be too strong. The Tigers have shown a bit of heart the last few weeks.
Agreed.
I know that Appy's the key. Look, when Appy missed a chunk of that season, I think we just sort of hit the fan.
Capitulated.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Bulla was trying to do too much. Luke Brooks was missing too. But look, with all these guys coming back, there's something there that they can build on.
Hey,
But I do
Stefano and Bloor back as well does bolster your pack, eh?
Yeah,
That Sean
that's
Bloor's
right.
been a gun off the bench for you guys, adds that leg speed as well. Stefano played Origin this year, could also help you guys. And them losing C and K is massive.
I'm gonna be honest with you. That's why when we did sign John Bateman to that massive contract, I was a bit sort of iffy about it because we did have Sean Bloor, who's been injured for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Him on the money that he's on, I'm guessing that could have been money well spent somewhere else. But John Bateman's been probably one of our best players also. So
All
can't
heart.
fault that
All
too
heart.
much.
You can't
Yeah,
put a price on heart,
100%. Well, we put 950 or 800 on it, so I guess you can. But yeah, I do feel the Warriors are too strong, and the Warriors have a lot to play for.
Yeah.
Home semi-final. Look, if I don't see the Broncos or the Penrith slipping up too much in the near future, so I do feel like Warriors are going to lock in that third spot.
Yeah.
So home semi-final, the second round, if they do lose the first week.
And if they win this week, it all but guarantees that top 4 spot,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Especially with their last 3 games, eh?
Honestly, I need to ask you, is there a team with more informed players at the moment? I'm talking about Marcel Montoya, Jackson Ford, Sean Johnson, Fanua Blake, Wade Egan, man. Everyone's just on form. Even CNK before he got injured. DWZ.
Hey, you have to say that their recruitment drive is probably the best in the NRL. In terms of players in form and the players, that have actually shone the brightest this year, like Dylan Walker, Jackson Ford, Shans Nickel Clockstad, all of them guys they recruited this year. Mitch
Hey, Mitch
Barnett,
Barnett, Mitch Barnett.
bro.
Yeah,
It's been insane, eh? So you could tell that they all, like are a tight knit group. They love each other. They come out. They don't want to let their brother down. You know how it is on a footy field. You look
yeah,
over to your left and right. If you see the guy that you love next to you, you trust him. You
yeah,
know he's going to give you that 1%.
hundred
So I feel
percent.
like they have that, brotherhood going for them.
And honestly, in a weird way, I do feel that whole COVID situation with the New Zealand team coming down to Australia and actually building those bonds, that's something that you don't lose. Um,
That's right.
and then once to go back home and you have that bond and that brotherhood, it would help you put you in good stead. And then
Yeah.
adding Sean Johnson in career best form, man, I don't know if parenthood is the way to go these days, but the man is loving life and playing like a gem, man. Like,
Hey, he's my lock for Dally MA. I'm calling
agreed,
it from now. He's the lock.
agreed. And people were questioning
His value,
his
his
value
his
back
love for
after
the
he left the
game. If
Sharks.
he still has it, yeah, I
Honestly, I
know.
thought he was going back to the Warriors just for a swan song, retirement, going back home.
Yeah, yeah.
They get paid before you go, but man, hopefully,
Look at
hey, the
that.
Warriors
Hey,
inviting
but
them
one
this year.
thing before we proceed, please never bring up Marcelo Montoya again. Yeah.
Why's that?
Hey, I have a very, very, very big hate for that man. He's a Bankstown Bulls junior. Used to kill it in our lower grades down at Canterbury. Played for the Bulldogs, for about 3-4 years.
Yeah, it wasn't too
Was
impressive.
shocking.
Yeah,
Not too impressing. Shocking. Every game he dropped about 4 balls. Goes to the Warriors. The guy's probably like one of the best wingers in the NRL, so he's always had that potential.
yeah.
But no love for us, huh? It's
He's
like
hot
that,
and cold, but
Marcelo.
he's been on fire. The Warriors outside backs have been doing a great job. Just interesting to see who's playing fullback for the Warriors.
It's some little kid who is, adds a
I don't
bit
know.
of flair. His name is Tuapiki. So Tuapiki has played a couple of games in the past at fullback, and he's covered pretty well. He's got very light feet, good footwork, but I feel like he's more of a runner. But seeing K's like that as well, so
Yeah.
they don't lose much in that. He doesn't have that ball skill, so SJ will still retain that as they've been doing all year. But yeah, man, very, very light on his
And
feet.
Metcalf has been doing all right too at 5'8". Ever
Oh,
since
wow.
he's been his running game suits
Another
Johnson.
great signature. They've added so much, eh?
We'll go down to our Super Saturday game, 7:30 game, the Sydney Roosters versus the Dolphins. Who do you have and why?
Oh, this one, honestly, the way the Dolphins have been playing, they've been pretty horrendous till last week, eh? They showed some grit, heart. Wayne Bennett came for an ambush, almost pulled it off, Couple of dubious refs calls, I
Are you
could
tipping the
say.
Roosters? Are you tipping the Dolphins? You sorry?
Yeah, I'm going with Dolphins in this one, eh? I know Roosters need to win all their games to make the finals, but I just feel like Dolphins, they've come back. I think they get Ray Stone back, who is pretty much the heart and soul of that team. Comes
Yeah.
out, plays with heart. Herman Esiesi is in the reserves. He drops out for him. But Roosters get Dylan Napa onto the bench. He's way past, his
Yeah.
prime. So,
Hey, but Dylan
Nathan
Napa
Brown.
playing 20, 30 minutes shouldn't hurt him too much.
No, no,
Unless
no.
he gets sin binned, which is possible.
He adds nothing these days. No quick play the ball, very slow, very lethargic. And age does get to you when you're a front rower.
What do you think of the Wayne Bennett move that he's been doing, taking Katoa off for Milford around sort of the half-time mark? Do you rate that move?
To be honest with you, against Bulldogs, it was a masterstroke. But last week, they had the lead. He made that move, and it set them back so much,
I
eh?
think his
The
first
Knights
touch,
just tore
Milford
him
dropped the
apart.
ball.
So it's a 50-50 for him so far, 1 out of 2. But I don't like it, eh? I don't feel like you should change halves midway through a game.
No, I definitely agree on that.
Yeah.
Look, I got the Roosters on that one. They got too much to play for. I do feel like, they've sort of figured it out, and they got Drew Hutchison at halfback this week, who, look, isn't the flashiest player. I think he's one of the slowest players I've ever seen play on the NRL, to be honest with you. But he's always in and around doing good stuff for the Roosters.
And he always somehow makes a line break,
I
eh?
know, man, and he's always there, and it's like, man, oh. But I do feel like Roosters have too much to play for, and they'll get the job done. Trent Robertson knows the importance of it. You
Yeah,
have
no,
seen the
they
Roosters
should get the
back.
job done. I agree, but I don't see it as well. I'm going against you.
You going? Ah, done. I'm going Roosters. I'm going Roosters on this one. Melbourne Storm versus the Canberra Raiders. We have 4th versus 5th here. I think winner of this game would move into the 4th spot.
Yeah.
Who do you have and why?
Oh, this week, after last week's performance, I reckon the Storm are gonna come out fired up, At Melbourne, 2 o'clock. You get Jerome Hughes back, Xavier Coates back, New Zealand international, Queensland winger there. I'm telling you, I see Storm winning and winning well in this one. Especially, now that Raiders have a debutant in the centres as well. Craig Bellamy, he's a mastermind. He's going to exploit that all week. They're going to focus, on that side. And I feel like, there'll be a lot of tries leaked on that side,
Look, I do feel Melbourne Storm after last week would have to be switched on. Craig Bellamy. Did you hear Craig Bellamy's press conference? He was praising the Penrith Panthers, man. So I think he might be playing a bit of mind games too, like getting
That's
his
what it
team ready.
is.
Because he knows that, look, they're going to face him in the sort of the prelim finals. They're gonna cross paths again. And he's going to get his
100%.
team geared up. And he knows, look, no Jerome Hughes, no Paps. Pappenhausen might be back around that time.
Yeah.
I do think Melbourne Storm will figure it out. And, yeah, they'll be too strong here for the Raiders. They'll want to
And
lock
I've
in that
seen
fourth
here,
spot.
just looking at their team list as well, Remus Smith is on the extended bench. He will play. Craig Bellamy, he's the king of the last-minute additions to the team. So you'll see Remus Smith into their centres, and that will bolster their pack as well. Because honestly, he's probably one of the best defensive centres in the NRL.
Who would you take off, Marion Seve or young Tonomapia?
So honestly, young Tonomapia is more of a winger to me, so I'd take him out.
Agreed, yeah.
Definitely.
And then the last game of the round, you have the Knights up against your Bulldogs. Who do you have
Hey.
and why?
Fairly optimistic for this one, It's safe to say it's the Bulldogs' best pack, they've put out on the field all year. Finally we get the British Bulldog playing a game, $800,000 a year, past 3 seasons. Poor guy's probably played like 10 games all up. So yeah, us fans have, we feel sorry for him, but we're pretty much over it as well. So hopefully, shows us some grit, heart,
Yeah.
His price tag shows us what he's worth on the weekend, and we just end the season on a high, We just want to show a lot of heart and just finish the season, how we thought we'd begin it. And to be honest with you, Kika on the edge, Luke Thompson on the bench. Our team looks pretty stacked, And they lose Bradman Best in the centres. So yeah, I'm optimistic, man. Upset here, upset.
Look, to be honest, I do fancy the Newcastle Knights. I have for a couple of weeks now. Especially Ponga. Ponga is one of my favourite players to watch when he's on.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be honest, I'm going to actually tip the Bulldogs. Newcastle
Let's go.
Knights, I don't know why, but man, last week against the Dolphins, they kind of struggled a little bit. And I do feel like the Bulldogs are they're starting to gear up. They're gearing up. They know that what they're working for. People are playing for their contracts, positions. They know people are coming in. Gavrilo has been one of your best players since he's moved back to fullback.
Yeah, man, sad.
And I just feel like I'm not confident by saying the Bulldogs, but I just do feel like there's an opportunity there for you guys to sort of play, I guess, the fairy tale killers of the Newcastle season.
That's right. It is a hard task. Don't get me wrong. Newcastle's finally made the top 8. It's at Newcastle, 4 o'clock.
I'm just saying this because I saw the Tigers smash the Cowboys, and then the week after the Cowboys 72-0, whatever it was. After getting pumped the way Doggies did against Newcastle Knights, like if one of those motivation thing where the coach just puts the score on top of the change rooms or the dressing rooms before the morning.
Yeah.
You got to do that, man. And I do feel like
100%. Especially since we had the bye last week. You can just imagine the coach has imprinted that in their heads. And it's been a build-up for 2 weeks. And they're just revving, and they should come out and just go crazy,
Like,
if not, then they're just a bunch of pussies. I'm sorry to say that, but I know that they'll come out and do it.
I literally feel like this is one game where I think Josh Adokar might not be laughing at all. You know what I mean? It's like one of those games where it's just a bit personal. That's when your pride gets tested when you just get smashed 66-0 because that was a game.
That's probably
I'm picking the Bulldogs. I'm going against my grade.
Saifidi brothers out as well. Trust me, stick to that tip.
Bradman Best out also, isn't he?
Yeah, Bradman Best also.
So, yeah, we'll go the Doggies. And yeah, that wraps up the round 24. Before we go, I do want to talk to you about your most impressive team this year and your worst team, the most disappointing team. Who do you have and why?
Most impressive. You can't get past the Penny Panthers, but the fairy tale dream story of the NRL has to be the Warriors, all them players we spoke about a bit earlier, finding that career best form. Some players that were written off, Just them being in the top four is insane. But honestly, team of the year, can't look past them. Penny Panthers. I think they're the shortest odds like they've
But,
been in NRL Premiership history to win the title. They're at like 240 or something like that,
yeah,
which is
and
pretty insane.
to be honest with you, I agree with you 100% on the Penrith Panthers. I do feel like people just watching in, people sometimes discredit dominance. Penrith have actually been dismantled year after year. You know, they lost Appy, they lost Kickow.
Trust me, I know we're still all their players.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, you got their players, but man, with the change that they have, you know, Mitch Kenny, Liam Martin, Nathan Cleary being injured also this year, Luai getting dropped from Origin.
It's just next
Man,
man up, eh? What a
that's the thing,
mentality.
man. It's crazy that the system. It reminds me of the old Melbourne Storm. You know, when it's just you could bring in a reserve grade player and they'll fill in the role.
Or even the baby Broncos. Remember when they used to play Origin back in like '06, '07, and they'd
Yeah.
have about 8 players in Origin and they'd still get the win, you
Mm,
know? It's just a
no,
well,
definitely.
manufactured system. I love it. It's
No,
so good.
definitely agree on the Panthers. Your most disappointing team?
Most disappointing, honestly, with with the roster they have, the youngsters they have, that good mix as well, I'd have to say the Dragons, man.
The
The
Dragons.
Dragons, yeah, Dragons. They have probably one of the premier halfbacks in the NRL.
Mm,
And you know how hard it is to find a good halfback, especially in the NRL. He's probably, top five. What can
yeah,
we say? Like Nathan Cleary, Mitch Moses. There's just a handful of them, that are elite, and he's one of them.
yeah. Ben
So
Hunt.
for him to be leading that team around, I know he gives it his all every week,
I'm,
and they have a pretty strong forward pack as well. So yeah, Dragons, they're shocking, eh?
I'm not gonna lie. I watched Ben Hunt run around in the Dragons, and I kind of feel there was this game. It was like 2 3 weeks ago when Ravalawa was just getting absolutely assaulted on the left wing, on his right wing,
Yeah.
inside plays. He was just shooting up, trying to kill people, and the players just running past, and Ben Hunt just turning around, going, "What are you doing?" Oh man, and he's used to playing with quality. You know, when you see him at Origin, puts his heart and soul into it.
That's right.
For me, my most disappointing team, I'm still gonna have to stick with the Roosters. On paper, at the start of the year, they're one of the fancy favourites.
Mm, mm.
Brendan Smith hasn't been what they sort of expected when they first signed him,
Agreed.
and Joey Manu, Teddy, Sawali'i, but I do feel like that there's still time for them to figure it out. I think they need to win all four of their games to make it. Man, all I want to see, honest to God, is Roosters versus Rabbitohs last round, do or die match. That will just top off the season, regular
Oh, that
season.
would be nice. But hey,
Um,
since you're talking about the Roosters, what do you put that down to? Do you feel like it's complacency, or do you feel like those superstars? You like you listed, they have a whole heap of superstars in that team, have just lost that motivation. Like, what do you think, eh? What can you put that down to?
Man, honestly, to me, it's the service from dummy half and halfback. Just that miscommunication. Because look, Teddy,
The spine, eh? The
yeah,
spine.
I don't know what's happened with Teddy, but he doesn't get involved with the back line anymore. He's pretty much always first receiver or second receiver in and around the ruck.
Yeah, he just loves
Man,
to
he
run.
needs to
Eh?
sit out. He needs to sit out. Just let and Sam Walker being injured too or missing half the year hasn't helped them also. But even at
Agreed.
the
Yeah.
start of the year, they were struggling. Brendan Smith, for me, Brendan Smith is a lock. I personally would have him at lock.
Yeah.
Losing Sam Verrills was massive for them. Sam Verrills, I feel like if he was at the Roosters and they started Brendan Smith for sort of
He
that,
was their glue. You're right. That's why I'm
yeah,
saying for Titans, he adds that great service. You see him; they're so competitive now. Nobody realised all those little things. Eh? A no
yeah.
frills player in comparison to someone that adds a few highlights. I feel like
Nah,
it adds so much of a difference
especially
to
at
a
dummy
team.
half, man. That crisp ball to your first receiver, man, makes everything, makes the world a difference. Like you look at
One
Nathan
hundred percent.
Cleary, always catching on the front foot. Now you see Brendan Smith passing and going, "Fuck, where's this going?"
Yeah.
And he just messes up the whole set, momentum, everything.
No,
That's
no,
what
agreed,
I
agreed.
put
Well
down to.
said, bro. Well said.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll catch you on Sunday for the round 24 recap. We'll see how we go with our tips. I'm gonna post them up and yeah, see how we
Done.
go.